Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, everybody out there. How are you all today? Are you very well on this fine Wednesday morning? It's a beautiful day out there today. And today we've got some wonderful things. Good morning, Indra. Hey, Brian. How you doing? Lovely to see you guys. So we're going to start off self-taping. How to make your self-tape stand out from the crowd. This whole idea kind of started. You may have heard me say this before, but I'd spoken to a casting director. She was saying the biggest problem that she has is looking at actors' self-tapes and their performances, and they all look a bit vanilla, she said. Good morning, Cameron. How are you doing? Lovely to see you. They're all a bit vanilla. It's almost as if we're all coming over the same. She described us as white cats in a snowstorm. So what I want to do is to try and first off, stop being so good. Stop being so kind of like, hey Amber, good morning, nice to see you. Stop being so polite. We've got to start kind of like, risking a bit more things. We've got to start being a little more disruptive in what we do. Hey honey, how are you doing? Lovely to see you. So guys, any of you guys, hey Kieran, how are you? The wonderful Kieran McGlynn. Look at that, James Bond, what a photograph. So guys, welcome to Kieran. Kieran works at the Abbey Theatre, we all know Kieran very well. Yay! And Andrea's here as well. Good morning, Andrea, how lovely to see you. All good stuff going on down here. So those of you who haven't, I'd just like to remind you, oh no, wrong button, I pressed the wrong button, we'll get about that later. This is the one I want to press now. This is it. Make sure you've subscribed and signed up and hit the bell for notifications and all will be well. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about is that, just a mindset. Good morning, Arlene. How lovely to see you. The first thing is a mindset. Get your mindset into a different place. Start disrupting things. Stop being so good. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to talk about some actual practical tips that you can use. This is all from the casting director's perspective. The way that the casting director, and believe you me, I've spoken to hundreds of them over the years, and I've discovered some of the things that really drive them nuts. And I want to make sure that you don't do any of those. The first one, this is a little one, this is a bit of a gem. This is a little tip. This is called the slate amplification strategy. Now, does everybody there know what a slate is? Just to check, let me know. Is everybody happy to, understand and proceed with what a slate is? If you slate before your self-tape, everyone know what I'm talking about? Just let me know in the comments. Do you know what I mean by a slate when you slate for a movie? I'll just cover anyone who's not sure. A slating, oftentimes they ask you to slate for the movie. It literally means that you want to, when you put your self-tape in, they want you to create a slate where you film yourself. Often it's a full-length, full-body shot. Sometimes you turn to the left and you turn to the right, and then you sort of look out front, and then you give a slate name. You might say something, Brian knows, good man. So you might say, my name is, Amber, great. Slating is, thank you for asking. And first off, really, really important to ask these questions. So I appreciate that. And always remember, whenever you're kind of like thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I should write it, it's always beneficial for somebody else. Because even those who know what's going on may need reminding. Because we don't always think about slates as clearly as we could do. So a slate is literally the way that you take a photograph of yourself, you take a video of yourself, forward, left, right, often profile, and then you might say something like, hi, I'm Nick Dunning, I'm reading for the part of so-and-so, my agent's name is this. Okay, that's a simple slate. That's like what you want to do. They often ask for full length, full body, so that they can see you to get an idea of what you look like. If you're 6 foot, and the person they've cast, if you're 6 foot as Romeo and the Juliet they've cast is 3'2", they may have question marks, right? So they literally are looking for things that fit into the jigsaw of the movie and the show that they're trying to create. But one thing you can do, which is really, really good, is if they don't ask for a slate, you can include a slate anyway. Now, one caveat, if they say, we do not want any slates, don't put the slate in. Okay, I'll come on to that in my second point, which we call preferential treatment. But this one, if they're okay about it and you think it's okay, pop one in. I think this is a really good idea. Let's imagine this. Let's say that the character you've been up for is let's say, a moody drug dealer. Okay, Kieran, you'd be perfect as a moody drug dealer. Indra, absolutely perfect moody drug dealer. Okay, so there you go. You've shot your tape, and there's your tape. That's your scene, and you've played the scene as the moody drug dealer. And at the end, put a little surprise in there of a slate at the end. And it can be just you standing still in a completely different tone. Hi, I'm Nick, I'm doing this and I've done that. The reason you want to do this is to just amplify the point that you are easy to work with. It's really critical because all the producers and casting directors I have ever spoken to, the one thing that they often want to do is to remove from their business people who are cranky, people who get in the way, people who are difficult. Now, you can argue whether that's a good thing or not, but that's often what comes across. So if you can do anything that's going to add value to what it is that you do, so they see your self-tape, there's you self-taping as the drug dealer, or the prince, or the doctor, or whatever it is, okay? Add a little bonus at the end. It'll just show a question. It'll just answer the question, can I work with this person? Right? So if you've done a very aggressive thing, you can show a completely different side of yourself as well. This is very beneficial too, because it starts to open up the possibility of questions inside the casting director's mind of what it is that you might be able to do. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me know. Are you going to give it a go? What do you think? Only caveat, if it says do not add slates, do not, because we're going to come into the next point now, which is preferential treatment. Cheers. I call this preferential treatment. Again, this is very much from the horse's mouth. This is what casting directors say. Everybody on their computer, you're all familiar with your preferences, right? On your phone, on your computer, we all have preferences. The brain is exactly the same. The brain has certain preferences. So, for example, hey, drop in this with Joe Flo. Drop in this with Joe Flo. Joe is one of my coaching clients, and that's a special thing for me. I know exactly what he means by that. You're enjoying the video so far? Usually watch them after work, not during. I like it. I like it. Amber says it makes sense. Good. And yeah, Brian likes it. Cool, cool. Andrea, I'll come back to your questions at the end if that's okay, right? So, with the preferences, what you want to be doing here is being very respectful of what it is that the casting directors are asking for. And preferences are simple, right? Let's say some of you like to drink Guinness, you drink from cans. Some of you like to drink Guinness that's pulled. Some of you like it to drink, with gas. Everybody has their own individual choices about things, the way that they want things. And each film company is exactly the same. So in the sides and in the mail out that you get about the self-tape you're going up for, they will say specific things that they want. If they say something like, for example, please will you ask all the actors to film this in a well-lit room in a mid-shot. Okay, we all know what a mid-shot is, from your sort of, your chest upwards, right? If they ask for a well-lit room and a mid-shot, make sure you give them a well-lit room and a mid-shot. So you're matching their preferences. Don't give them a poorly lit room and an extreme close-up. Okay? Now this is something I used to think, oh, this is rubbish. This is nonsense. What's the point? Let's just do the film. I'm going to get it in there. I'm going to get my performance in. Here we go. I'm rather good at this. Here we go. Well, hey, chuck it in and off it goes, right? But what tends to happen is that in large studios, this is particularly in America for American shows, but it also happens for BBC and RTE too. If the studio is often the person or the group of people in charge of the entire production. And when they sit around, the producer and the director are sitting around casting, they may be in an office, they may have computer screens all around them, they may be looking at several screens at once, and there may be several people there all at the same time, okay? If it's done in a different way that jars with their company identity, the way they like to look at things, the way they enjoy things, it's gonna it's gonna cause a little moment, and that you want to avoid what I call the shit click moment, right? You don't want anyone hears that, you've got your zapper and you're looking at something and you go, oh shit, click, right? Don't put obstacles in your way that needn't be there. Okay, so be good in this sense. Follow the preferences of what it is that they ask for. For example, if they want a close up, give them a close up. If they want a white background, use a white background. Sometimes they will ask for an alternative thing. They might actually say that they want a blue background. Now, that often happens in America. It's the regular thing that they ask for in America. Is often they want a blue background. Okay, if they ask for a blue background, give them that. If they want an extreme close-up, give them that. If they want this or this, whatever they ask for, if there's anything that they say about the way that please wear something that suggests the character, put that in there. Every single one, once you've started looking at these things, every single studio and every production company will have slightly different ways of doing things. It's very important to treat them as individuals, to honor their requests. It'll just take the block out of the way and just make your flow, it'll just flow a bit easier for you. Yeah, does that make sense? If you've got questions, we'll come back to these afterwards, okay? So I wanted to tell you what I'm going to be doing, the next few videos. I want to talk about what I've discovered are the 4 principles of self-taping. The first one is what we're talking about today, which is the producer's POV. What it is that the casting director wants. If you can be in alignment with what they want, you're going to flow in your self-tapes. If you start putting all this stuff that jangles with them, it's going to give them another opportunity to click. We don't want that. I want you to avoid that. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? The second pillar of the whole way that we look at self-taping is the production side. By production, I'm talking about cameras, lights, microphones. How many of you use a microphone? Let me know. What microphones do you use? If you don't use a microphone, we'll be talking about that on Friday. That's what we're going to be looking into. Backgrounds. If they ask for a background, you've got to have a background. I can do my tape like this, as you can see with my bookshop, in the bookshop. I wouldn't put this up for a self-tape. Okay, we do separate different things. These are the things to look for. Okay. The third pillar that we want to look at is the psychology of self-taping. Having coached over 2,500 actors now, I know what happens when you talk to actors, because they're the same as me, they've done the same thing. They call themselves, they start to doubt themselves, they have worry before they go on, they particularly if it's a live taping, if you're taping with someone, like a casting director in a room, as opposed to, casting at home, they can get anxiety, they can get lack of confidence, they can feel all those things. And then they wonder why they're not getting the results from their self-tapes. When you get the flow of a self-tape, when you get that moving, it takes all those blocks out of the way. Things start to flow much more easily. And of course, the final pillar is performance. So that the actual performance, the way that you interpret the character, how you reveal the character, how you use entrances and exits, how you can actually, what I call the beginning and the end of the middle of the scene, the button of the scene, how you button the scene, how you kick it, the transitions in the scene, all of those we're going to cover in the performance side. And if this is stuff you haven't thought about, you really need to start thinking about it because it makes a difference. Okay? So the final thing that I want to talk about today, the third tip, actually it's 4, isn't it? Because the first one really was the main one, which is change your attitude to self-taping. Get into it, love it, learn from it, get excited about it, make it fun, make it exciting, engaging, and treat it as if it's really, really, really important. When you raise the necessity, everything starts to shift, okay? And so we'll look into the performances. Now, the third tip I want to talk about is this. When you send your self-tape in, you submit it, you actually press send. Often people just go, okay, I've shot the tape, oh, I've already done that, press, off it goes, right? Please, hope that gets me a job, please, I'd love to work with him, oh, wouldn't it be great to go to Spain, right? That kind of stuff. So one of the things I'm going to teach you a little bit later on is how to lose that anxiety at the end of a tape. It's very important to let go completely after a tape. So you finish that one, move on to your next thing, okay? When you're sending in the tape though, I want to introduce you to what I call the legacy effect. The legacy effect is a way that you can be hanging around on a casting director's computer on their hard drive for the rest of your life. How does that sound? Does that sound interesting? Anyone like the idea of that? Yeah? Being on a casting director's hard drive for life. The legacy effect. One of the things you want to do, and I've noticed this from going into casting agents' offices in London and, well, all over the world, really. And you go into these places and you can see there's thousands of people. And there's often, 4 interns spilling coffee everywhere. There's usually someone stressed. There's someone sort of like watching something on fast forward, something on this day, that way. All these kind of things, right? These are the kind of things that are happening continually in the casting director's office. So what you want to do, they often have this thing, Rode, yes, absolutely, Rode GoPro, absolutely, Connor. That is a great mic. We'll be coming into that, talking about that later. That is a wonderful mic, very, very good. So if anyone needs one, look at that. The legacy effect itself is a way of staying on the hard drive. What you want to do is to make sure that you take your self-tape and you label it in a particular way. Because you're in this maelstrom of noise, and there's a filming happening there, and the director's over here, and then someone's coming in there, and then they're always on the next show. There will be once Corona's out of the way, but you know what I mean? All this continual flow all the time. People are moving, buzz, buzz, buzz. So you've got to make sure that you break through the noise. And often what happens is casting directors forget who you are. Not because they're being mean, but they just can't quite remember. They go, what was the name of that guy? What was the name of that woman we worked with on that show? Now, sometimes they have, meticulous, filing systems that, with actors and production numbers and all that kind of stuff, and they have everything on computer. But not everyone is perfect. Some people make mistakes. They forget people. So what you want to do is make sure that you label your self-tape in a way that you can be found. So the formula goes like this. You want to put your name, a dash, your character, a dash, the show, a dash, and an agent, dash, and the date, dash, okay? You'll see what I mean by this. I'm going to show you a little video. This is the one I've got here, and I'll talk you through this, but this is the way you want it to be. This is the legacy effect. So my name is Nick dash Dunning, dash, Hunts was the character, dash Killing dash Eve was the show, dash agent's name Lou dash Coulson dash date. What this does when you write it down like this with a dash in between each of these items, and again it's name, character, production, agent, and date. Okay, what this means is when people are sitting around and there's all this buzz and all this noise and someone's going, hey, Jemima, what was the name of that guy that we had in that show? Which show? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, what, the one with, the woman killing everybody. Oh, Killing Eve. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. What was the name of the guy? I don't know. Now you have Killing Eve as a search term. What was the name of the character? Oh, yeah, Hans, wasn't it? The guy who played Hans. The Russian drug dealer. Hans. Now you've got 2 terms. So now they can search on their computer hard drive. When did we shoot it? Well, it was in May 2020. What was the name? His name was Nick, but I can't remember his surname. What was it, Nick? What did he play? What was his agent's name? Do you get the idea? So if they don't have this perfect system, which nobody does, okay, this is the way that you want to upload every single one of your self-tapes. When you do that, you're going to stay as individual search terms on their computer. And it's the individual search terms that are really most likely to trigger a memory. And that's what we're trying to do with the legacy effect. Okay? I hope that rings a bell. Get the idea? I love these things. Now, guys, any questions? Let me go back to, but do post in questions if you've got questions in here now. Now, what have we got here? Andrea says, do you pause the filming of the self-tape and film the slate, or is this a separate tape? It's a separate tape. Absolutely. Good question. Great question. It's a separate tape. So you've done the self-tape. You can even change costume, right? Change clothes to make it look different, to amplify the contrast. So you're looking at one image and they see a different image with a different tone. So let's say you've been up for, Andrea, let's say you've been up for, I don't know, let's say a barrister. Let's say you were doing a barrister in Emmerdale Farm, for example. Okay, that's what you were playing. And you'd chosen to suggest the character. So you're wearing a brown suit, I don't know, right? A brown suit with a blue blouse, okay? Something like that. Your slate, you could be in your jeans and have a different hairstyle and just go, hi, this is Andrea. My name is so-and-so. I'm reading for the part of this. This is my left side, and this is my agent. And you can say something nice as well if you want, lovely to be here. Thank you for considering me. Good to see you. Hope to meet you soon. Something sweet, something simple, right? So you see visually, remember, we're always, always, always dealing with visual people. People who use visuality more than anyone else. So if you're going from brown with blue to different colors, different hair, you're giving yourself more opportunity to expose what it is that you do, to reveal who you are, to show more of your talents, to express yourself even better. Does that make sense? Now, Honey says, do you record yourself sitting or standing? Does it matter if you have half body out? Again, to me, that depends very much on the self-tape that they're asking for. If, for example, you're playing, I'm just trying to think of a scene. I'll give you my most recent self-tape was for a show called Miss Scarlet and the Duke, which I got very fortunately, and is running at the moment on Alibi. And in that, the character Inspector Sterling was the character I was playing, and the first scene that I had to do was in an office, and he was writing, and in comes the other character, and the whole idea was that he was writing, and then I look up at this guy, and I'm a bit disdainful of him. So pretty clearly, that's a sitting down scene. Other scenes, again, it depends. Most of the time, what they want to see is your face. They really want to see, usually it's from your sort of, your solar plexus upwards. That's usually what they want to see. But sometimes they ask for full body. Sometimes they ask for longer, from the knees up or something, whatever they ask for. Try and find something that's natural, that makes it as easy as it can for you. And you can't go far wrong with that. There is no, you wouldn't stand for that self-tape example, but you would stand if you were playing, I don't know, let's say you're playing a barrister in court and you're standing up and you're addressing people. That makes more sense to be standing, right? So again, that's really worth doing. Amber says, what's a good way to begin a self-tape? I always find myself looking somewhere and then beginning, but is that a good enough way to begin? Yeah, I think there are all different ways of beginning self-tapes, and I go into this in much more detail in this self-taping sequence that I'm releasing soon. But actually, the best, again, it's very difficult to be generic. There's no best way. I think the best way to start any self-tape. So what did you say? Let me see it again. What is a good way to begin a self-tape? I always find myself looking somewhere and then beginning. So like you're looking away and then you start. Again, it depends very much, Amber, on the scene that you're doing. Often, the way writers write is often what they do. They're taught to begin a scene when you're writing a scene in the middle of the scene, as if you're already in the middle of the scene. And often that's a great way to start a self-tape. So instead of starting it like I'm starting my self-tape, let's assume that the scene is, let's use the example we were talking about before. I'm playing this scene, I'm playing the inspector, and in comes the guy, and I'm going to give him a grilling down for what it is that he's been doing, okay? So the scene itself is before the man comes in, I'm sitting preparing myself and I'm writing. I have no idea he's coming in, right? I'm in this reality, so I'm writing. And then he comes in. And that's the first beat of the scene. Okay, but the scene starts before the self-tape. Get the idea? The scene starts before the self-tape. So you're in the scene, and it just so happens the camera picks you up in the middle of a scene. Does that help? Do you understand what I mean by that? Yeah? Cool. Anything else, guys? Any other tips or things? Any other questions? Now Joe said, what's this? The AIM audio is very well. Good man. The acting is mental audio. Yeah, absolutely. Very worthwhile to listen to. A relaxing way to program your thought. Exactly. And it's programming. People often think programming sounds like, we're programming. It's like we're taking over your mind. We're not. That's not what's happening. You run programs in your brain anyway. The question is, whose programs are they? That's always the question. My whole goal of everything that I do in coaching is to release the most potential in all the actors I ever come into contact with, to release them from all that, what I call the unnecessary suffering. There's unnecessary suffering that is going on in the world for actors. It's just unnecessary. It's not needed. And if we think in different ways, we can release this stuff really easily. So that's the kind of thing I'd like to suggest. Okay? Anyone, any other questions? Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to, Kieran's got a question here. What's that? If they ask for slate, tell us about it. So what are your tips? Yes. Yeah, yes. I'm actually, yeah. If they ask for a slate, tell us about yourself. What are your tips? I would say something that's kind of engaging. Hi, my name's Kieran. I could use, uh, uh, okay, Kieran, here you go. Give me three things that you actually know from having worked at the Abbey Bar. Give me three things that you have noticed in terms of your observation, just the way you see people. Pop them in there. Just pop them in. You'll be amazed what's in there. You see, if you don't know, what to say, we tend to feel self-conscious and we get a bit worried about that. And I'm going to do a video about this actually, because that's one of on my list to actually do, because it's very difficult. But what's really interesting is, you can say, I don't know, maybe you go, I don't know, you say, hi, my name's Kieran McGlynn. I love horse riding. I really enjoy horse riding, and I'm a bit of a yoga nut, and I like coffee. It's just simple. Just something like that. Really, what it is just, you want to break the ice. It's not so much telling you about yourself. It isn't what have you done, because what you have done, it will be on your CV. Your jobs, everything that you're doing like that, that will be on the CD on the CV. People will have that there. You don't need to add to that. They've got all your work stuff. They want to know who you are. They want to say, what kind of a person am I dealing with? They're just as weird and freaked out by the whole thing as you are. I know this to be true. I've spoken to them, hundreds of them, and they all say the same thing. They get nervous when there's an audition. Casting people, particularly at the Abbey, as you know, they get nervous when they meet people. People do, they're human beings. So they say, well, tell us about yourself. It's not that they're trying to, find to figure something out. They're just going to say, they're just trying to break the ice. So how do we kind of what's a good conversation starter? I just try, I run a website for actors, and I do yoga twice a day. I meditate, and I like proper coffee. I mean, that's pretty much what I would say. Something like that. If you jumped out of an airplane, put that in there. You know, if you like, I love rock climbing. You know, I could say something like, well, tell us about yourself. Well, yesterday I went for a swim in the sea. Right? Do you swim in the sea? Do you like swimming? See how you can get a conversation going? It's simple. Big tip: forget about the job. Forget about the job. It's not about the job. It's about the poison. What's it about? It's not about the job. It's not about the job. It's not about the job. It's about the poison. Okay? There you go. Honey says, often my favorite body lotion, Sunbox Factor 50. Straight in there. You know what that means. And Honey, I know because I know Honey. Honey lives in South Africa, right? It's often hot. That's a very important thing to say. It might be slightly different in Ireland because we wouldn't use sunblock at all, probably. Maybe we should. Yeah? Yeah, no, Amber, great, great. You see, absolutely. Tell us about yourself. Well, I've been working, and it tends to make us, it feels that we have to talk about the jobs, right? And if we've been working, that's kind of okay. If we've not been working, that can be difficult. If the last thing we did was 3 months ago, usually actors feel a bit vulnerable with that. Tell us about yourself. Well, I came here on the bus today, and this woman was knitting, and she was knitting really peculiarly. It was really odd. But she was knitting like this. She was doing this very strange thing. See what I'm saying? Tell us about yourself. Tell me something about yourself. Amber, just tell me, give me a couple of things. Just practice it now. What would you say? Give me 3 things. 3 things that you think are different. Just something. Kieran, come on. Did you pop something in there? Give me 3 things. 3 things you've noticed from the Abbey Bar. Come on. You can do it. Now, Honey says, what microphone do you use? Well, I'm going to cover microphones and all that stuff in the production side of it. But what microphone do you use? I have several, depending on different setups. I have lots of different setups. I have this one. This is my Blue Yeti, but obviously you can't really can't really stand around with that. Where's another one? I've got this one here. This is another one I use sometimes. I have this one, which is a little lavalier mic. Sometimes I use that one. Got a volume control on that. Plug that into your phone, pop it in there, hide it so nobody can see it. That's pretty useful. The Rode one that Connor was mentioning is very good. One that plugs into the phone is really useful because then you can plug it into the phone if you're using your phone, put it on the tripod, and you must get a tripod, please. Thank you. Put it on there. The Rode one is a little angled mic. It just angles towards you, and it's very, very good quality. I think it's about €70, so it's not cheap. That little one I showed you there, that's about 15, 20 bucks. Any lavalier mic is going to be better than the iPhone mic. Now, 3 things you notice. Tough question. Meeting interesting people, observing the crowd, watching patrons react to play. Okay. Now, what I'm going to say, I don't want you to answer the question. I want you to give me 3 little moments that you've seen. So rather than watching patrons' reaction to plays, that's pretty clear. But you could say, I saw this one person once. I'll give you an example. When we were doing, what was the name of it? We did Great Gatsby at the Gate Theatre when theatres used to exist. Do you remember those old days when theatres used to exist? And now here we go. Okay, I'll come on to that in a sec. I could tell you that we did the Great Gatsby, and people used to come into the auditorium. I remember this woman once. She was standing there. She had a cardigan and pearls, and she threw up in her handbag. Now, that's going to get a reaction from somebody. That's going to get something, right? Right? Okay. Now, taken up quiz writing for my family to become my audience during this time. Exactly. I've taken up quiz writing. Tell me a bit about yourself. Well, I've taken up quiz writing recently with my family. What are their favorite questions? Well, the favorite questions they ask are this, this, and this. Right? Take the curse off yourself. Make it simple, really simple. Now, Amber says, live in West Cork, middle of nowhere, looks like. Yeah, yeah. I love film. I love Harry Potter. Well, tell me about yourself. Well, I love Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. And I saw a wonderful film the other day called Call Me By Your Name. Do you know it? Have you seen it? Right? So you take the moment and put it back onto them. Get them talking. Who says the rule is you have to talk forever? Do you see what I mean, Kieran? Yeah. Great, exactly. 3 little mini details, personal touches, little things that you've seen. Maybe you saw that guy once who stood over in the corner and this guy dropped his drink on Michael D. Higgins's foot. right? Right? Something human, something personal, something like that. Again, move it away from work and it'll take the curse off the whole thing. You remember how we were talking about last week, how I banned the word audition? Audition tends to put those fears into the body. It tends to put anxiety, it tends to put stress into the body. So does tell me about yourself. But they're not asking for your CV or a list. They're just really saying, how are you? What have you been up to? What are you doing? Tell me about yourself. Well, I was watching Normal People last night, and I really loved the way that so and so did this in that scene. Oh, I was watching the football match last night. Are you interested in football? And if they're not, that's fine too. You can be interested. That's okay. See what I'm saying? Tell me about yourself. Well, I love fishing. What's your favorite fish? What do you like to fish? Where do you go to eat yours? Where do you get it from? Do you have a particular fishmonger? What do you like to get the brill? We get the fishmonger up the road. We get brill on a Friday, and they put this wonderful lemon butter on. It's just juicy. Here's another little tip. If you want to get onto somebody's kind of wavelength quickly, start adding in word like the touch senses. Touch senses. If I say to you, yeah, so we had a little piece of brill, this white fish, and I sprinkled some lemon. And you know when you get the lemon juice and it jumps in your eye? Well, I did that the other day. I had to wash my eye because the smell of the butter was extraordinary around the fish in the pan. And then we put a little caper on the butter as well. And then when it melted into do you get the idea? You're talking about sensual words, sensual language, sounds, feelings. And everybody can relate to those because we're geared for that. That's what human beings do. Yeah? What's that? Sorry, what's Joe said here? Joe says, yeah, mate, top of the world, yeah. How about believing it's yours and you have a skill that will help make their job easier? Team player mindset, power of synergy, absolutely. You'll get exactly the mindset is going in not as oh, I am the employee frightened of this audition. I'm not the one who's I'm a person coming in. I'm the same as you. I'm come to have a chat with you. But I really, I mean, obviously don't overdo it. If you overdo it, you come in there and tell me about yourself. Well, I mean, my goodness, what a really nice dress you're wearing. That's incredible. Do you know what I mean? It can look very obvious if you do it too much. But if you're literally complimenting someone as well, that can be very beneficial. People like to be complimented. They like to receive. They like the energy, confident, easy flow. Yeah, Kieran, great. That's the idea. Make it more enjoyable going forward. Then you can take the stress off that we all fear and we all feel when we go into the room. And it's exactly the same for them. So if you're putting yourself at ease, you'll put them at ease. And remember what we were talking about on Monday about saying to yourself, giving yourself the permission stamp, right? Permission to be at ease. Permission to chill. Permission to enjoy what you're doing. Yeah? So, guys, I'd like to invite any of you who haven't, if you come onto my website at www.nickdunning.com, and if you'd like to have one of the free calls, they're going at the moment. I've got another couple of spots open this week. So if you'd like to come and have a chat with me one-on-one, that would be great. Just pop on over to the website and we'll see you soon. So on Friday, we're going to talk a little bit more about the production side. This is going to be about cameras and lights and, how we can get into that. So if you've got questions about that, anything you want me to to cover, drop me a line, peakactors@me.com, or come to the website, use the contact form, and do tell your friends, bring your friends, and the more the merrier. I love doing this stuff. So thank you so much, guys. Really lovely to see, and I want to give you all a round of applause. Thank you so much. Hey, isn't it great? Here we go. Oh yes. Hey, everything is marvelous. Thank you, guys. Lots of love. Take care of yourselves. See you soon. And I'll see you on Friday. God bless. Bye now. Wash your hands.